But what are the differences for you as we travel between those two tracks, and how do you view the kind of present situation in Formula One at the moment?
It's really interesting because I think everyone's kind of waiting to see what are they going to be like at Silverstone. I think the last time we saw them on an actual F1 track was Barcelona, and they looked really good, and Hamilton was really fast in the race. And the thought was that if Magnussen hadn't hit him, could he have won the race, kind of thing. So I guess if Silverstone will be really interesting to watch, but Max Verstappen is on one right now, and he just looks in supreme form. But then again, Matteo Binotto said that with this new power unit that Leclerc has, he can attack these next few races before the summer break. That'll be really interesting to see because Leclerc he's been immense this season, especially in qualifying, and he's been really let down with some, I guess, reliability issues in the last couple of races and everything like that. But I think the title race is still there. I know Verstappen has this still 46-point lead. Perez is still in this. Sainz has said he's back and he feels more comfortable with the car. I think really, I don't think we've seen the best of the season yet. I think there's still so much great racing to come. And I'm so excited to cover it. And Silverstone is kind of the start of that.
Absolutely. I think it's that three-way title fight that everyone's kind of. We had it, the V8 era. You had McLaren, Red Bull, Ferrari. It did seem like for certain periods, you had all three cars quick at the same time, right? You weren't just going between race to race, seeing one might be better here, one might be better at the next track. They were all good at most of the tracks. And I think, fingers crossed for the second half of this season, it could be really, really special if Mercedes bring that technical development. With the teammate dynamic at Mercedes this year, how do you think that's going to play out? We know every driver hates losing to their teammate, and Lewis has only done it. Well, he was joint on points with Fernando Alonso in his first ever year. I think there was 1 year where he lost to Button, and then obviously the year where he lost to Rosberg. But that's as a record, that's basically better than anyone else ever. But I mean, I suppose Michael maybe did when he maybe lost to his teammate in the early years, and I guess Michael also lost to Rosberg in the later Mercedes years. But
it was late.
Yeah, I mean, it's a later Michael Schumacher's not going to be as quick, but he did have some amazing performances, and it's that storyline, the fact that he actually did come back to Formula One and then almost start Mercedes, which was then the Lewis Hamilton. Lewis took his seat effectively after he retired, and then it's just that was a bit of a tangent there. I was meant to ask about George Russell and Lewis Hamilton, not Michael Schumacher. What do you think the dynamics like in that team at the moment? Two British drivers at the British Grand Prix. Are they going to be friendly together, or bit frosty? If the car gets better, the relationship could get worse, right?
I guess you would think so, but then again, I actually weirdly believe that the car not being where they want it to be for the first few races probably helped their relationship, because they're not competing in that same way. They're actually trying to, I guess, get the car to the front. And that could probably have been the best thing for them, where it's like, okay, look, we're not where we want to be, but let's help each other get there. And of course, I think Rosberg said it the other day that Hamilton hates losing to his teammate. And I think every driver hates losing to their teammate. No one, Verstappen won't be happy if Perez beats him. As much as he'll respect it, he just won't like it. So,
100%.
No one enjoys it. Sainz does not enjoy losing to Leclerc right now. So, I do think that we've kind of heard from them that because Russell's been immense this season, he's been top 5 every single race, but that Lewis has been doing the experiments. That's kind of the conversation and that's what Mercedes have said. So I'm really interested to see what happens if their car is good in Silverstone, what happens within that dynamic. But I actually think them working on the car together has probably, really helped them. And Toto Wolff has said, that their relationship is really good and they work really well together, and he loves watching them in team meetings. So that's a really good sign. But, as we just said, no one likes losing to their teammate, and Russell is really good, but Hamilton is Hamilton. Then, he said it as well, you're going against the benchmark in F1 technically, which is Hamilton, and you're going to compete against him. And Russell will want to prove himself, and he'll want to show that he is he is the future of Mercedes, but Hamilton, I guess, is still Hamilton. So I love the dynamic. I think it's probably the strongest driver lineup on the grid. But then again, so is Red Bull. Red Bull's really strong. So is Ferrari, and it's really great to watch actually. And you get the feeling that if those six cars can win a race, boy, we are in for some good racing, like for the rest of the season. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it does seem like, Sainz, the P2 in Canada, it's significant for him on his record. It was, it's one of those unfortunate stats, really, that it was the 5th time he'd ever finished second, right? And that's, and he'd never won a race. That's brutal. But
it feels like it's coming for Sainz. It does, like, it's a matter of when, not if. I believe that he's far too good a driver not to win a race this season.
Yeah, but if both cars finish qualifying, your money's always going to be on Charles, and that means he has to go past Charles in the race, and that means he has to not go by his team orders probably because Charles is ahead in the World Championship, Nadim. So there's so many. It's one of those things about Formula One. There's so many layers to everything. There's so many well, this happened. Well, then what about this? What about this? And I'm sure getting into it on the writing side, is it hard sometimes to kind of tell the full story when actually in the notes you really have to be quite quick and sort of punchy with the details? How do you reduce down to the essential information and kind of filter out the stuff I say, which is just sort of waffle?
No, it's one of the things you had to learn. Because I remember when there are a lot of few writers at F1, and everyone subs what you do, and they go through everything and then they go, okay, this is where you need to work on, and this is what you need to do. And one of the things they wanted me to do at the beginning was flesh out my story and say, look, you need to add a bit of context. You can't just go straight into everything. So I started adding context, and then someone went, well, you need to kind of reduce the context a bit and try and be as quick and snappy as possible. So you have to find the right balance. So one of the things I've gone with is on a race weekend, I'll say, this is how they did it in qualifying. This what led to this what happened in the race. Did anything significant really happen in the race that they did? Maybe the pit stop didn't work, or maybe he overtook someone. Stuff like that. So it's really, really finding, I guess I kind of think of it from the perspective, they really didn't watch the race. So in like the quickest amount of time, how can I tell them how the driver went and how that driver won in the race? So but because so much happens on the weekend, and because there's so much, like, it's really, really action packed. Like, it's really quick, and it's really intense. To pick out what is actually necessary to say it's quite confusing at times, but you do kind of get used to it with time.